From the outside, Julie Mariano's life looked like a dream. At just 26 years old, she had become one of Miami's rising social media stars. With nearly 2 million followers on TikTok and Instagram combined, her videos were everywhere. Sun-soaked beach vlogs, luxury fashion hauls, motivational posts about chasing dreams. Brands paid her thousands of dollars per post. A single sponsorship could earn her more than most people made in a month. Her smile lit up every photo, her captions were witty, and her fans adored her. But behind the filters and perfect lighting, Julie was still just a young woman figuring life out. And like many, she fell in love with the wrong person. His name was Ryan Carter. On paper, he seemed like the kind of man any woman would want. Tall, charming, and ambitious, Ryan was a fitness coach with a growing online following of his own. He and Julie met at a collaboration shoot, and the chemistry was instant. Within weeks, their photos together were all over Instagram, him holding her hand, her leaning against his shoulder, captions like, "Power couple goals." Julie's fans loved them. They were the Miami golden couple. But the truth was darker. Behind closed doors, Ryan was jealous. He hated that Julie's following was 10 times bigger than his. He bristled when brands offered her $10,000 campaigns while he hustled for $500 sponsorships. He accused her of being fake and only famous because of filters. At first, Julie ignored the comments. She told herself he was just insecure, that he'd get over it. But as the months passed, his resentment grew. Arguments started small, jealous questions about DMs, complaints about her wearing bikinis in videos. But then it escalated. By their one-year anniversary, Ryan wasn't just jealous. He was controlling. He demanded her passwords to build trust. He scrolled through her messages late at night, accusing her of flirting with photographers. He picked fights whenever a male influencer commented on her posts. Julie knew it was toxic. But she was in love, and love makes excuses. Then came the night that would change everything. They were in Ryan's apartment, celebrating a brand deal Julie had landed with a major swimwear line. She poured champagne, laughing, excited about the 5-figure contract. But Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You think you're better than me now?" he muttered. Julie froze. "What are you talking about?" "I'm celebrating us." But he just shook his head, bitter. "Without me, you'd just be another girl with an iPhone. Don't forget who helped you with your first shoots." The argument spiraled. And in an attempt to smooth things over, Julie made a mistake she would regret forever. She let her guard down. That night, in a haze of champagne and misplaced trust, they filmed private videos together. At the time, it felt like love. It felt safe. She never imagined those moments would one day be weaponized against her. Months later, when the relationship crumbled under the weight of Ryan's jealousy, Julie packed her things and left. She thought the worst was behind her. But then, one ordinary Thursday afternoon, her phone began buzzing nonstop. Messages from friends. Emails from fans. DMs flooding in with screenshots. A video. Her video. Uploaded to a shady website under the title, "Influencer Exposed, Julie Mariano Leaked Tape." Julie's blood went cold. She clicked the link, and there it was, her most private moment, splashed across the internet without her consent. Her heart pounded. Her hands shook. Her face went pale as realization hit. There was only one person who could have leaked it. Ryan. And in that moment, as the walls of her carefully built world collapsed, Julie knew one thing for certain. She wasn't going to let him get away with it. Julie sat frozen on her couch, the glow of her laptop screen burning into her eyes. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, notifications from Instagram, texts from close friends, even her younger sister calling over and over. She wanted to throw the phone across the room, to make the noise stop, but the reality was louder than any ringtone. Her private life had been stolen and put on display. Within hours, the video spread like wildfire. Shady gossip forums posted links. Strangers on Twitter turned her name into a trending hashtag. Even fake fan accounts uploaded clips to TikTok, chasing views off her humiliation. Julie's inbox filled with messages, some supportive, some cruel. "We love you, Julie, stay strong." But just as many were venomous, so this is what you do for followers. Guess we know how you got those brand deals. By the end of the night, 3 sponsorship managers had emailed her with the same chilling line. Given recent events, we are suspending our campaign pending further review. Julie pressed her hands to her temples, trying to block out the sound of her own sobs. She wasn't just losing money. She was losing her career, her reputation, the life she had built post by post, deal by deal. And worse, her parents called. Her mother's voice was trembling. "Julie, your uncle just called us. Someone sent him something. Honey, what is going on?" Shame stabbed deeper than any knife. She had always been the role model, the responsible daughter, the shining success of the family. Now, in a single day, she felt reduced to a tabloid headline. Her mind kept circling back to one truth. Ryan did this. Ryan, with his smug jealousy and twisted sense of ownership. He wanted to break her. He wanted to destroy everything she had worked for. At first, the fear consumed her. She deleted her apps, shut off her phone, pulled the curtains shut in her Miami apartment as though the world could be kept out. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She replayed every moment in her head, how he'd asked for passwords, how he'd filmed with that sly grin, how she had trusted him. But fear has a way of burning itself out. And when it did, what rose in its place was rage. On the 3rd day, Julie stood in front of her bathroom mirror. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen, but her jaw was set like stone. "No," she whispered to her reflection. "He doesn't get to win." Ryan thought he had ruined her. But Julie had something he didn't expect: resilience. And she was about to turn his power move into his downfall. She started researching. Late into the night, scrolling through case files, legal blogs, articles about revenge porn laws in Florida. She discovered that what Ryan had done wasn't just betrayal, it was a crime. Florida had passed strict laws on non-consensual intimate image distribution. Penalties included heavy fines and even prison time. She bookmarked everything. She printed copies. She highlighted sections of law that screamed his guilt. Then, with trembling fingers but steady resolve, she called a lawyer. The receptionist transferred her to attorney Michael Grant, a man known in Miami for handling high-profile privacy and defamation cases. His deep voice on the other end was calm, reassuring. "Julie," he said after hearing her story, "what he did to you is not only immoral, it's illegal. And I promise you, we are going to hold him accountable. He won't see this coming." For the first time since the nightmare began, Julie felt a flicker of hope. Ryan wanted to humiliate her. But she was about to flip the script. Instead of crawling away in silence, she was going to drag him into the spotlight he craved and expose him as the criminal he really was. The influencer who once sold bikinis and beauty products was about to sell the most powerful message of all: justice is worth fighting for. When Julie walked into attorney Michael Grant's sleek Miami office the next morning, her palms were clammy, but her resolve was iron. The reception area was polished, filled with leather chairs and framed news clippings of past victories. Headlines like "Privacy Lawyer Wins $2 million Settlement in Defamation Case" lined the walls. Julie stared at them, wondering if her face would one day be the next headline. Michael greeted her warmly, shaking her hand firmly. "I've read the details you sent me. This case is strong, Julie. We're not just talking about defamation, we're talking about criminal charges and a civil lawsuit. Ryan Carter is about to learn that actions have consequences measured in dollars and years behind bars." Her throat tightened, but she nodded. For the first time, she felt like she had an ally. Together, they drafted the complaint. It outlined how Ryan had filmed private videos under the guise of trust, then maliciously distributed them without consent. Michael highlighted damages: loss of sponsorship contracts worth over $60,000, reputational harm, emotional distress, and the blatant violation of Florida's revenge porn statute. When the lawsuit was officially filed in Miami-Dade County Court, it was public record. And once a local reporter spotted Julie's name, the story exploded. Miami influencer sues ex for leaking private video. Rising star takes legal action against ex-boyfriend. Headlines hit the Miami Herald, then spread nationally. Entertainment blogs picked it up, tabloids added their spin, and within days, Julie was once again trending, but this time not as a victim, but as a fighter. Meanwhile, Ryan was anything but worried. In fact, when the first journalist cornered him outside his downtown gym, he smirked. "She's just bitter I broke up with her," he said smugly to the cameras. "There's no proof I leaked anything. She's just trying to ruin me because I moved on." His arrogance was fuel for the fire. Clips of his dismissive comments went viral, painting him not as a victim of false accusations, but as an unapologetic villain. Julie watched the interview from her couch, her fists clenched. Rage boiled, but Michael reassured her. "Let him talk. Every arrogant word he says will hang him later." And Michael was right. Because within a week, forensic IT specialists traced the upload of the video back to Ryan's personal laptop. The metadata was damning: timestamps, IP addresses, even his email linked to the shady forum where the first post appeared. The evidence was airtight. But Ryan, in his arrogance, refused to back down. He laughed off settlement offers, scoffed at the charges, and kept training his small group of gym clients as though nothing had changed. What he didn't realize was that Julie wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every woman who had ever been humiliated online. Every victim whose name had been dragged through the mud while their abuser walked free. And as the legal battle moved forward, the entire city of Miami was watching. Julie wasn't just a social media star anymore. She was becoming a symbol. A symbol of what happens when you turn betrayal into payback, and when you use the law not just to survive, but to win. By the time the first court hearing arrived, the case had grown bigger than anyone expected. Local news vans were parked outside Miami-Dade County Courthouse, their antennas reaching into the sky. Cameramen lined the steps, waiting for a glimpse of Julie Mariano, the influencer-turned-fighter. Paparazzi had followed her into coffee shops, and her follower count had actually grown, this time, not for her beach outfits, but for her courage. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Ryan swaggered in wearing a fitted suit, his jaw clenched in a cocky grin. He winked at a reporter in the gallery, as if this was just another chance to flex for attention. Julie, on the other hand, sat beside Michael Grant. She wore a simple navy dress, her hair tied back, her face calm but strong. She wasn't here to perform. She was here to win. The depositions began first. Ryan's attorney, a flashy man in an expensive gray suit, tried to paint Julie as an attention seeker. "Isn't it true," he asked, leaning on the table, "that your client has built her entire career on revealing images?" Michael didn't flinch. Posting a bikini photo to promote swimwear is not the same as having private sexual material stolen and leaked without consent. And the law makes that distinction crystal clear. Julie's hands trembled slightly under the table, but she lifted her chin. When it was her turn to speak, her voice was steady. "I trusted Ryan," she said. "We were in a relationship." That trust was shattered the moment he decided to upload videos that were never meant for the public. "I lost sponsorships. I lost friends. I even lost the ability to walk down the street without wondering who had seen me in my most private moment. This wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. And I'm here because no one else should ever have to go through what I did." The courtroom was silent. Even the judge's eyes softened for a moment before he nodded gravely. Then came the evidence. Michael introduced forensic reports showing that the original upload came from Ryan's laptop. He projected IP logs on a screen, tracing directly back to Ryan's apartment Wi-Fi. There was no shadowy hacker, no anonymous troll. It was him. Ryan's smirk faded. He whispered angrily to his lawyer, but there was nothing to be done. The digital fingerprints were undeniable. When Michael revealed that the shady forum account used to upload the video was tied to Ryan's personal Gmail, an audible gasp rippled through the courtroom. Reporters scribbled furiously in their notepads. Ryan finally cracked. His jaw clenched tighter, his eyes darted nervously, his posture stiff. Gone was the confident trainer with a smug grin. In his place sat a man realizing, piece by piece, that his empire of lies was collapsing. Julie watched him, her heart pounding. For months, she had lived in fear of his power over her. Now, for the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. By the end of the hearing, the judge ordered the case to proceed to trial. Criminal charges were filed alongside the civil suit, including felony counts under Florida's revenge porn laws. If convicted, Ryan faced not just financial ruin, but years behind bars. Outside, cameras swarmed Julie as she exited the courthouse. Microphones shoved toward her face, reporters shouting, "Julie, how do you feel about today's hearing? Do you have a message for your fans?" She paused, her lawyer at her side. Then she looked directly into the cameras, her voice firm. "My message is simple. If someone tries to take your dignity, fight back. Don't let them define you. Take back your power." The clip aired on national news that night. And just like that, Julie Mariano wasn't just an influencer anymore. She was a movement. The trial began 6 weeks later, and by then, the case had become national news. Major outlets like CNN and NBC picked it up, framing it as a landmark test of Florida's revenge porn laws. Talk shows debated it, podcasts analyzed it, and social media buzzed with hashtags like #JusticeForJulie. Every morning, the courthouse steps were flooded with reporters, photographers, and even fans holding signs, "We stand with Julie." She had transformed from an influencer into a symbol of digital age resilience. Inside, the courtroom was tense. The prosecution laid out their case with surgical precision. They presented the forensic evidence, the IP logs, the laptop files. They called tech experts who explained, in layman's terms, exactly how Ryan had uploaded the video. The evidence was airtight. But Ryan's defense team wasn't going down quietly. His attorney painted him as the victim of a vindictive ex-girlfriend, claiming Julie had leaked the video herself for publicity. "She thrives on attention," the lawyer declared, pacing dramatically. "This is nothing more than a calculated stunt to boost her career." Julie's blood boiled, but she held her composure. She knew this tactic was coming, character assassination, the oldest trick in the book. But this time, she had truth on her side. When Julie took the stand, the entire room leaned in. She looked out over the courtroom, her hands steady on the wooden rail. "I never wanted to be here," she began, her voice strong. "I didn't ask for my private life to be broadcast across the internet. I didn't ask for strangers to judge me, or for sponsors to cut ties, or for my family to be humiliated. What I asked for, what I deserved, was trust." And Ryan shattered that trust in the most deliberate, cruel way possible. Her words cut through the air like glass. The prosecutor guided her through the timeline, and Julie explained each step with clarity. How she and Ryan had filmed in a moment of intimacy. How only he had access to the files. How her life unraveled the moment the video went public. When Ryan's attorney cross-examined, he tried to rattle her. "Miss Mariano," he sneered, "isn't it true you built your following by posting revealing photos?" Julie met his gaze, unwavering. "Posting photos I choose to share is not the same as having private sexual material stolen and distributed against my will. Consent is the difference. And Ryan knows that." The courtroom murmured. Even the judge's gavel couldn't fully silence the ripple of agreement. Then came Ryan's turn to testify. He walked to the stand, his swagger slightly dimmed but not gone. Under oath, he denied everything. "I didn't upload anything," he insisted. "Julie is doing this to ruin me because she can't handle rejection." But the prosecutor was ready. He pulled up screenshots of Ryan's email linked to the upload account. He showed the timestamps, matching the night Ryan had angrily messaged Julie after a fight. He played audio clips from depositions where Ryan contradicted himself. Piece by piece, Ryan's lies crumbled. His voice grew shaky. His face flushed. At one point, he even snapped, shouting at the prosecutor, "She ruined my life first." That outburst sealed his fate. Reporters scribbled furiously. The jury's faces hardened. Ryan was no longer the confident fitness coach. He was the bitter, vindictive ex who had crossed the line. The trial stretched for days, each moment dissected online. Clips of Julie's testimony went viral on TikTok. Her words, "Consent is the difference," were turned into a trending hashtag, plastered on t-shirts and signs. By the final arguments, the contrast was clear. Julie stood as the victim-turned-fighter, demanding justice. Ryan looked like a cornered man drowning in his own arrogance. And as the jury retired to deliberate, the world held its breath. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours, but for Julie, it felt like 4 lifetimes. She sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, her lawyer beside her, the muffled hum of reporters echoing beyond the double doors. Every minute ticked by like an eternity. Finally, the bailiff called them back in. Julie's stomach twisted into knots as she rose, smoothed her dress, and walked into the courtroom. The jury filed in, their expressions grave. Ryan sat at the defense table, his once cocky posture now stiff, his hands gripping the armrests as though he could hold back the inevitable. The foreman stood, a slip of paper in his hand. On the charge of unlawful distribution of private sexual material without consent, the foreman read, "We find the defendant guilty." Julie's heart slammed against her ribs. On the charge of intentional infliction of emotional distress, "We find the defendant guilty." Gasps filled the room. A few reporters scribbled furiously, others just stared. Ryan's face drained of color. His lawyer muttered under his breath, rubbing his temples as though the verdict had landed like a hammer on his skull. The judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter, this jury has found you guilty on multiple counts. Given the severity of the evidence and the clear malicious intent, this court sentences you to 2 years in state prison, a fine of $50,000 and full restitution to the victim for financial losses exceeding $75,000. Julie's breath caught. She had prepared herself for the worst, for some technicality, some loophole, some slap on the wrist. But instead, she was hearing justice in real time. Ryan's mother sobbed quietly in the back row. Ryan himself looked stunned, his mouth opening and closing as though words had deserted him. His arrogance had finally cracked into raw disbelief. Reporters stormed out to be the first to break the news. "Influencer wins landmark revenge porn case," blared on screens before Julie even left the courthouse. Outside, flashing cameras surrounded her. Fans cheered. One woman in the crowd shouted, "Thank you for fighting back, Julie." Julie paused on the courthouse steps, raising her voice just enough to be heard over the chaos. "This case wasn't just about me. It was about every person who has been silenced, humiliated, or broken by someone who thought they could get away with it. Today proves that they can't." Her lawyer guided her down the steps, but in that moment, Julie didn't feel like a client. She felt like a victor. Ryan was led away in handcuffs, his head bowed, his once proud reputation destroyed in front of the cameras he once craved. His gym clients abandoned him. His social media accounts were flooded with comments, scorn, outrage, disgust. He had wanted attention, and he got it, but not the kind that brought sponsorships or admiration. This was the kind that ruined him forever. That night, Julie sat alone in her apartment, staring out over the Miami skyline. The city lights glittered against the dark ocean, and for the first time in months, she felt a weight lift off her chest. Yes, her trust had been betrayed. Yes, she had been humiliated. But she had fought back and won. And as she opened her phone, re-downloading the apps she once feared, her notifications buzzed again. But this time, they weren't cruel messages. They were words of support. "You're an inspiration. Thank you for standing up." Justice served. Julie smiled faintly. Ryan had tried to take her power away. Instead, he gave her a platform stronger than she ever imagined. Julie's victory in court didn't just end with the gavel striking wood. It sparked something bigger, a ripple effect that no one, not even Julie, could have predicted. The very next morning after the verdict, her name trended across multiple platforms. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, even late-night talk shows picked up the story. Memes circulated online, showing Ryan's mugshot paired with captions like, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." Another one read, "He tried to ruin her, but she made history instead." Julie scrolled through her phone, overwhelmed. Thousands of strangers were sending her messages of support. Women, men, even couples who had gone through betrayal of their own. Some thanked her for standing up. Others shared their own private battles with revenge porn and humiliation. For the first time since Ryan had leaked that video, Julie felt something powerful. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was leading. But Ryan? His life was a completely different story. After his conviction, word spread quickly through the prison system. Inmates found out why he was there. A man who weaponized a woman's privacy for ego? That didn't earn him respect. In fact, it made him a target of mockery. The influencer's ex became his new nickname, a constant reminder of how far he had fallen. His social media accounts? Deactivated. His brand deals? Gone. The startups he had once bragged about building? Investors pulled out immediately, citing reputation risk. Overnight, the man who thought he was untouchable became toxic to everyone who had once surrounded him. Even his family stopped showing up. His parents, embarrassed and exhausted, distanced themselves. Friends? Vanished. The same people who cheered him on when he flaunted his lifestyle had no interest in being associated with a convicted sex criminal. Ryan was alone. Truly, utterly alone. Meanwhile, Julie flourished. Within weeks of the trial, she had invitations from multiple networks. Podcasts wanted her voice. Brands approached her cautiously, offering contracts, but with deep respect this time, not exploitation. Her lawyers carefully filtered opportunities, but one stood out, a six-figure deal with a women's empowerment brand. Julie signed it not for the money, but for the message. She didn't just rebuild her career. She elevated it. 1 year later, she stood on stage at a women's rights conference in Los Angeles. Cameras flashed as she delivered a keynote titled "Reclaiming Power, Turning Betrayal into Justice." In the audience, hundreds of women cheered. Many of them had once felt powerless, ashamed, destroyed by someone else's cruelty. Julie looked out at them, her voice steady as she said, "They tried to turn my pain into my prison. But I chose to turn it into my power. And if you're sitting here thinking you can't fight back, let my story remind you that you absolutely can. Justice may take time, but it will always find its way." The applause that followed wasn't just polite. It was thunderous. And that was the difference between Julie and Ryan. He thought revenge was about humiliation. She proved it was about justice. He thought power came from tearing someone down. She showed real power comes from rising above, no matter how deep the wound. He thought leaking that video would make him untouchable. But in the end, it made him unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Julie's story became a cautionary tale, but also a symbol of resilience. Her case was cited in legal debates, discussed in universities, even referenced by lawmakers pushing for stronger digital privacy laws. She became more than an influencer. She became a voice. As for Ryan? Years later, when his sentence was up, the world had long forgotten him. No spotlight, no money, no respect. Just a man marked forever by his own cruelty. Julie, on the other hand, had not just survived. She had won. Her bank account was healthier than ever. Her reputation was stronger. And most importantly, she had her peace. Because at the end of the day, revenge isn't about destroying the other person. It's about reclaiming yourself. And Julie did exactly that.